Hi guys, Squall here, and welcome to another Transport 2 video. I hope you're enjoying the series. I think you are. Just a little shout out that if you're enjoying the series and you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any videos. I am putting them out quite regularly at the moment as we go on our road to get to $1 billion on hard mode in a modded playthrough. And the video description has the collection details, the Steam collection if you want to set up the map and the mods exactly the same as I've got it. Check out the video description, it'll tell you how to do that. And also a quick mention that I have now enabled YouTube memberships of those of you who want to join and get access to exclusive sub badges and emojis and access to my family friendly Discord server where you'll find a load of subscribers, a load of simulation lovers is what I was trying to say and failing badly. In the last video, what we did was we built out this thing here, which is our stone construction material network. So one of the goals was to start growing Twickenham and Hyde. We're starting to do that, and we're bringing stone all the way down here to turn it into construction material and then taking it all the way back again. We could, of course, have taken the stone much more locally, but it makes more money if we take it further. And things are doing okay financially. You can see that the train, which only gets paid in one direction, is turning over a bit of a profit, but demand is not there yet. It's still growing. You can see the construction material factory is leveled up once, so production's picking up, demand is picking up. Transport we're doing pretty well on. I've had to add some more trains into the mix. We've now got 3 stone trains. I also disabled. I had them stopping and waiting at the station here. I disabled that because the frequency on the line was suffering, and the game's a little bit weird like that. So remember, I had it stopping at Twickenham just to wait for stone, but the frequency of the service was up in the kind of 5, 6, 7 minute bracket, and that's just too much. So what you have to do is stop them from waiting, even though it's a very long way to go without any material. Stop them from waiting to get the line frequency up. And then what happens is, by the magic of the game, it just starts to produce more stuff because the factory goes, oh, we've got a frequent service. In that case, we'll put more stuff on the platform. It's just the way it works. So if you're struggling with your line, have a look at the line frequency and maybe consider slowing down or disabling the wait on the line so they're not sitting around doing nothing, because all that does is increase the wait time. On ships, it's not so bad because you kind of tend to have to wait a bit longer. On trains, yeah. I found it that sometimes if you disable it, the line just works better. Now, one or two things I have done while you've been away between videos is I have put a few bus stops down and put a basic bus route here, just going around Twickenham. And I've built this little bus station outside of town just there. And connected the roads to it. So we've got a circuit of buses dropping off here. I've then got a bus, a high-speed bus route. I say high-speed, they do 70 k's between Hyde and Twickenham, because I noticed there was a lot of public transport going on this here. There still is a lot of private transport, going on here, but we're now starting to eat into that a little bit. And I've put another bus station just outside of town and given them their own bus circuit. And the reason I did that was because we've managed to supply them with materials, and you can see there's a lot more demand, we are starting to grow. So this town has already gone up like at least 100 citizens, and moving people around just lets us to help it grow a little bit. Obviously, I put them on the north side, and the reason for that was, in case we want to do a train line between those two at some point, we've then got the option to do that quite easily, because I noticed there was another couple of towns up here, and I thought, well, if we put them on the north side, we know that we can connect them up via train later, whereas south of Hyde and Twickenham, there's not a lot down here apart from Henley. And I thought, well, Henley we can probably just bring into Ludgershall at some point and bring that through to Twickenham. Hence why I put the station on the north side and not anywhere else. Again, just in that forward-thinking mindset, just trying to think about what you might want to do next when you're placing, particularly things like bus stations, and train stations. They're very significant things when you put them down. So that's what I did there. Now then, the focus of this video. If you remember, there's one thing I want to fix before we go any further. We've got Bradford here, which is getting plenty of fuel. So it appears to be doing quite well. It's obviously just being trucked in. There was a lot of fuel waiting here. That's now cleared out because we put more trucks on it. However, the crude situation hasn't really improved. This oil refinery, you can see where its production is at and its shipments at. It's like it's doing okay, but it could probably do a bit better. I have seen it run out of crude. We did stick 4 trains on this crude circuit here, and what you can see here happening, this is the essence of the problem. The train line is, the journey is too short to support 4 trains. I did mention this when I bought a 4th one. I put a plaster over a wound because I could see there was a demand problem, or rather a supply problem. We're not getting enough crude over there. So I quickly bought another train while we focused on the Stone and Combat line. But this isn't working, guys. You can see it's not working. We've got a train inbound already. He's going to be there fairly soon. And, you know, he's frankly only just leaving. This is a mess. So how do we fix it? The way we fix it is, instead of having 4 trains, we have 3, and we make them faster. And, you know, 3 quick trains on here should just about do it quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell one of these trains, which is going to be this one, because he's completely empty at the moment. So I'll sell him, which leaves just 3 on the line, and we'll reconfigure these. So what we do is we're going to come to here, replace selected vehicles. They've got 16 tanks on the back at the moment. We're going to chuck in one of the NOHABs because we know it's great pulling power and we need pulling power. And then we're going to basically max out the tank car as much as we can, knowing full well that the limit of our platform is 240 meters. So we need to drop one off there. We will replace that. We'll recolor into black like this. Now, if that still persists as a problem, our next step will be to just extend this platform and make those trains, you know, 320 meters or more, potentially. But I think that should solve the problem. I think what you'll find now is, if we just have a quick look at this train, you should see it picking up speed, and it should be able to get there probably as this one is on its way out. You can see that's loading up nicely now. So they're taking more stuff and they're moving it quicker, and hopefully that'll fix that, but we'll check on it later. Now, let's get down to business, because this is going to be an interesting... We'll have a very quick discussion here about how to get food into Aylsham and Princess Risborough. It's a very strange town name. We're going to get food into this. Now, simplistically, we have a few options. Simplistically, here's one. There's a food processing plant right there. If we can get some grain into here, we can chuck out food and bring it into Princess Risborough and Aylsham. This is how the default game works. 2 grain into 1 food. I don't like it, but that's the way it works. If you look around, the only grain in sight is that one down at Leaf Farm. A lot of the grain, because of RNG and stuff, there's a lot of grain up here, which we're tapping. There's a grain up here and here that we're not tapping into yet. So, you know, we could bring that in. There's some grain over here. There's grain here, here, and here. There's quite a cluster of grain there. Remember that. I don't like it because 2 grain into 1 food just feels a bit wasteful to me. Can we get that intermediary like we did with the alcohol? Possibly, because if you look here, there's a food processing plant right there, which will take either meat or coffee beans or alcohol, and it will turn it into 2 food. Now, given where that food is, if we can bring something into there to make the food, then we can immediately truck it into Aylsham, and then we could train it down to Princess Risborough. It's quite a long way. We could truck it, but I would suggest we probably train it and think about the train station setup for a PAX line later. Yeah, so again, 1 step ahead. We could even bring grain back from here if we need to, but I don't know if it's going to work. So where do we get our alcohol from? Where do we get our beans from? Where do we get our meat from? If you go to suppliers and then sort by cargo. So let's have a look at the bean situation, right? So beans are all the way over here on the west of the map. We can bring beans into here, coffee berries into here, make beans, and then we can bring it all the way over here. That's a long train line over a lot of water, so that's not ideal. We could fly it in, but that doesn't scale particularly well. Option number 2 is here. Not many coffee berries in sight. There's one there. So we could get it over here, but then it's a long way up there. It's a long way to take it. So the third option is that one there. Again, coffee beans are great, but there's just no berries. There's like one here, so it's a long way. And don't forget with the way this situation works is it's 2 berries into 1 bean, so you kind of want to have 2 lots of berries near each other ideally. So that's not fantastic. Next option is the meat situation. Now, there's a meat factory all the way up north. There's a meat factory all the way west, and there's a meat factory just outside of Princess Risborough. So maybe that's an option. Maybe we can take something in here and bring the meat back out that way and then bring the food back into here, possibly. It takes 2 fish or 1 livestock. Blimey. 2 fish. Well, there's 1 fish here, and then there's no fish for miles like there's one over there. And in terms of the livestock situation, like, suppliers, livestock, so there's 1 just there. That takes 1 grain. It's all getting a bit messy. What about the alcohol? Will the alcohol save us? Well, we've already tapped into that alcohol, so that's not going to work. There's only 2 more left on the map. That one all the way up the north, and then this one here. But this one's next to the water. That's not so bad, because if we can get the alcohol from here to here, yeah, that's not terrible. Where can we get the grain from? Well, there's 3 grain farms here, and there's a giant river. So that's not so bad. Grain, lots of grain can be moved by ship. We could bring it on a ship down here and then make alcohol, and then we could ship it to the other side and then probably just train it directly over here. That then makes the food then goes in. That's what I'm going to do. Not because it's necessarily, in quotes, the best solution. It's only one of a possible number of solutions, which is how this game is. But we don't have any ships yet, and I kind of want to show you ships in operation. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do ships. We're going to bring all the grain down. We're going to ship the fuel, the alcohol over there, and then we'll train it over. We could build a train line across here and train it in directly. You know, it's not a terrible shout. The only thing to bear in mind is that if you do that, obviously this cuts off the waterway. So you kind of have to arc it up to make sure that you don't suffer. And also, you know, you may not like having a train line going over such a large body of water. Or you may just want to bring it a different way. Again, there's lots of options. We could eliminate the ferry. But maybe we just have the ferry in of the alcohol. It's not a big deal to have a ship moving that distance. 1 would do it, maybe 2 later. 1 ship moving the alcohol, then train it away, and it saves having a massive bridge. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Again, no right way, just options. So how do we set this thing up? Well, the first thing we need to do is go down to the ship, and we have a passenger harbour and a cargo harbour, and a bit like the train lines, you can build one and then add with the other. And the other thing is you need a shipyard, which is a depot in train terms. It's where you kind of bring the ships out of. You can put them anywhere as long as they're in the waterway. If you want to know what's accessible from water, if you go to your layers and choose navigable waters, this one here, the second icon, when it's bright green, it means a ship can go down it. Now, by default, most of the water you get on the map will be navigable, because when you look at it, you might think to yourself, oh wow, can a ship actually get up there? And the answer is yes, it can, because it just showed it as being navigable. So it's not a problem. But you can make your own canals. Just bear that in mind. It's not hard to make a canal. You can just do it with the terrain tools. It's not cheap, but it's completely doable. So for example, let's say you wanted to have a cargo harbour. Now what you need to do, you need to have the anchor facing in towards the water like that. And then you can see when it's red, you can't put it down, but when it changes colour, you can. If you keep going in, it'll say docks outside of navigable waters. So that's not near the water enough, and that's too far away from the land. Yeah. And just like trains, you know, they need to have a road connection to the industry, same as everything does. So if we go down to, let's get a basic road going, and what we might want to do, say, is, and you can sculpt the land however you want, but let's just say you want a piece of road, let's get rid of that, piece of road like that, say, or rather, let's build this one first because it might look a bit tight if we do that. So you can see the footpath connections, the all-important footpath connections, and then we could have a little road that curled like that. And then we're going to build a road, and then we're going to connect it. So what we'll do is we'll put this down first. So we'll decide, just roughly how we want that thing to sit. Let's say, I don't know, like that, for example. And then we put our road. And this is a bit of guesswork to try and decide exactly where to put it. But as long as you've got those little footpath connections, that's all that really matters. And then we can do that. And we should, if we click on the shipyard, we're now connected. So we know that we can bring stuff in here, it can convert it, and we can ship it back out again. You may want to, it's up to you, you may want to do this, just make it look better, blah, blah, blah. Completely unnecessary, doesn't make any difference whatsoever. But, aesthetics. This bit here, right, so what do we do with this bit? So by default, what we now have, if we click on configure, when you go for landings, you've got a normal landing, which is a small landing, and a large landing. But to have a large landing, you need a large dock. Now, if you click on cargo or passenger, you have the two types of dock. They're the small dock and the large dock. By default, that came with a small dock. So what we'll do, I don't want a small dock. I'm going to click configure. I'm going to bulldoze that away. And then instead, we're going to have a large dock like that. Now, with a large dock, if you look at these little arrows, oil tanker, and oh, that's a nice little shunter, that is. That's great for moving stuff around small distances. Quite nice, that one. Notice that you've got these kind of blue arrows, and if you put the mouse near a blue arrow, it'll snap like that, you see? So you can basically build them outwards, just focus on where the mouse is and point it at blue arrow. That's what you want to be doing. We could build it here like that, there like that. We could build it further out like this. We could stick it out in the water. It really depends on, and this is quite a large body of water, but if there's a narrow river, you wouldn't want to stick it out like that because you'll block the whole thing. What I'll probably do is go like that and build it like at the back rather than at the front, just because aesthetically I think it'll look nicer. So we'll build one there and one there. We don't need two, except because what we're doing is bringing in grain and taking out alcohol. We want to have two. Yeah, we could even have a third one sticking out like that if we want to. In fact, if you really want to make it look cool, these are $500,000 each, but we've got that much money, we don't care. So let's just go for cool and do that. Yeah, and that looks awesome, doesn't it? What you can do if you want to, and it's not necessary, but what you can do is go to the the landscaping tools, and where the water is here, just click on the deep water and then just drag it in. And you can see what it'll kind of do is, because obviously, ships are quite deep, so you don't really want to have all this shallow, beachy land. I don't think. You don't want to have all this shallow, beachy land where you've got these hunking great ships coming in. So what I like to do is just landscape that away a little bit, then go to smooth, bring the strength down a touch, and then just kind of sculpt it out of there like that. Just blend it in. And then you've got this lovely deep water for the ship to come into. Again, you don't need to, but I like doing it. Go to landing. Now we've got access to the large landing. Now you need a landing to define where a ship will dock. It can't dock at any of these cargo bays unless you put a landing down. So we'll put a landing here, 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 here. Again, if you're tight for money, you wouldn't do 4 because that's 400 grand plus the $500,000 we spent just putting each one of these down. But it looks cool and we've got the money, so why not? So that will do for that. The actual shipyard, we know we're going to need to collect grain from up here. So it's a question of where do we put it? If we think we're going to truck it down to the coast, we would basically, what we do is we put it on the coast maybe here, and then we'd truck it in. But another option is make a man-made kind of waterway, if you want to. Have we actually got any traffic on this bit here? No, we've not. So these are all industrial connections. So these here don't matter. We can actually just delete all of them and the game won't complain. So what you can do, and again, this is entirely up to you, but I want to show you what's possible, I guess. What we can do is we can make our own A bit like Rotterdam or something. We can make our own quay. We can cut in and have ships come in directly. So how would we do that? Well, we go to landscaping tools, go to flatten, and then let's say we want it to come in, I don't know, like here. Maybe we want to take a chunk out of that. So we'll start there, start at the deep bit, and we'll come in like this. And we'll take a big chunk out like that. There you go. That cost quite a lot of money, but it gave us something really, I think, quite neat. When you've got the money, don't be afraid to change the map. You know, landscape it. That's what they're there for. That's plenty deep. Plenty deep, that is. And obviously, you know, as we come around the corner here, we can take a bit out. Then we go to smooth and just kind of smooth that out. Just make it look nice. So it's not entirely... I mean, obviously it's man-made, but you don't want it to look completely rough. You know, there's the water there like that. And then just go to that navigable waters layer and just double check what you've got. Make sure you've not messed up. And then what we can do is we can basically build our road down here, because don't forget, the dockyard needs to connect into this thing. We can, of course, truck the grain to there. So what we'll probably do is we can have a, say, a cargo harbour. So we spin the anchor out towards the water. Now we need to stay in range of this thing, so we just need to be careful not to go too far away. And this is, unfortunately, a bit of guesswork, but what you can do is build your road first, just to give you an idea. So you can, say, build that road like that. Let's just curve that in like that. And then, whoops, wrong one. Then you can go in for this. Now, if you bring it further back and highlight on the road side, it's not connecting because of the elevation change, I don't think. Yeah, we've got quite an elevation change going on. So what I need to do is need to landscape that a little bit, because it won't connect to the road at the moment because the road's a lot higher. So what I need to do is just delete that road down. And I just need to flatten this land a bit with the landscaping tools. It's just too steep for it. So what we're going to do is get the flatten tool and say pick an area somewhere on the beach just to get our level. So hold the mouse button down and then flatten it like that. Which looks a bit odd, but we'll fix it, don't worry. And then we'll smooth it out again like this. Just pull it down like that. Try and get the elevation down a bit. And then if we can bring our road, say, along there like that now. And we're not going to have anything on this bit of road. We just need to get it so that it connects into the shipyard. There you go. Right, so you see that now? That's not connected to the grain. That is. So that shows you the maximum distance. If we was to put our shipyard there, it wouldn't collect that grain. But if we put it here, it does. So armed with that information, what we can do is design our dock. So we can put this down here somewhere. Say like that. We can put that down and we can reconfigure this. We'll get rid of this. Remember, we want to have large docks because we want to have large ships later. If you only build small docks, you'll be restricted to small ships. So we'll have one like that, and then we'll have one like that, and maybe have another one like that. Yeah, that will give us plenty of options. Then we'll put down the landings. 1, 2, 3, and then, and again, you don't have to do this, just to make this look a little bit more like somebody built it rather than it just kind of, well, look like it should be there, I guess is the phrase I'm looking for. We're just going to smooth that road out because it looks a bit nasty at the moment. So we'll just smooth that road out. That looks good. I want to do is build this land back in. So we'll go to the flatten tool, and this time we want the ground level of about the dock there. And we'll bring the land in like that. Yeah. And then we'll just smooth that out. There you go. That looks pretty tasty. So we're just going to fix this bit as well. So we'll click on the road, build the land back in to the dock, and then smooth it out like that. There we go. And I think that looks pretty decent, right? So now it looks like it's kind of built into the landscape and not having this chunking great water gap, which I just think looks nasty. And you can leave the beach like this, or you could change it. We know we're going to have to bring a high-speed road in here in a minute. So what I'll do now is I'll just kind of delete this road, and we shall make it a higher capacity one. So we'll do that. We'll have a bus. Actually, we don't need a bus lane. There's just no point having a bus lane. And we'll make it a higher speed. Is that the road? That's 100 k's. That's fine. We'll do that, and then we'll just turn that up there like that. And this road here will curl away. So we want it to come in this direction. So it'll curl away like that. And then we'll send it on its merry way. And we'll deal with that later. There's no point doing it now because the demand, like I said before, when you do it with 2 grains like this, it will not take from... It will just take everything from here and nothing from there. It's bizarre the way it works. But that's just how it is. So just double check, click on that. It's all connected. Right. That's that done. We need to build a shipyard so that ships can actually spawn. So it doesn't really matter what you put. There's just... I normally put it in the middle of things. Just make sure you orient it the right way, because the actual the door, if you like, needs to point into the water. That's just where you can spawn things, and then they can go in either direction. So that is that. So what we'll do now is we shall make a decision. Are we going to ship that over and train it, or are we going to train it across the water? I think we'll... it's a toss-up between whether to have a train line here that's connected to that dock and then punts over the water there. There is actually a hill here, so you could potentially elevate the train station a little bit. I just don't know if I want to cut that or not with the train line. We're going to have to go through this road here as well, so that whatever we do with the train line is going to have to go through this road in order to get to here. So we might have to elevate or bridge or tunnel this section of road, because we're going to have to come through there. But what we could then do is keep some elevation here and use that to get us over there, to directly train line it. Or we just ship it over to here and build another dockyard. Horses for courses, guys. There's no real right way of doing it, but I think I'm going to lean on the side of shipping it across the water and then training it out of there. I think it'll probably look nicer. I quite like taking PAX lines over large bodies of water because they make for a fun ride as well. Maybe in the future, if you have Henley-on-Thames, we could have a train coming through like that. I don't know. Or even over here. Actually, now I'm swinging back towards bridging it. Just because I might want to PAX it over there. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll just get on and build some infrastructure, and then we'll catch up in a second. There's some things that I want to show you. I was going to build some more infrastructure, but there's a couple of things I want to show you. So first of all, over at Aylsham, I've put the station down here and connected it to our factory, and you may wonder why the heck have I oriented it like this? Well, because first of all, we need to get over here. So we need to get the whiskey in this direction. So it's going to come through here. You can see I've tunneled that bit there now. So we've got a nice train line coming through, so we'll build a bit of track there. We've got a track coming in, and that's going to turn into there and stop and go back out again. And also, we need to deliver this food down to this town, and this town, we talked about having a PAX connection as well at some point. So I kind of angle it so that I can easily turn out and go south. And this can serve as the passenger train station as well. Now, I dropped it in as a 320-meter platform, but this is not going to be cargo on the other side. So what I want to do is quickly, I want to get rid of the cargo side of this because we don't need to have all of this cargo stuff going on. And we can bring in instead a PAX platform there. Like that. And then what we'll do is we'll add another track, because it's beginning to look like this is going to be a bit of a hub throughput for what's happening down south. So I'd rather build it out now because we're about to put a bus depot down and this town will probably grow very quickly. So I'd rather get this out the way now. So there we go. That's given us options. We've got cargo and PAX options. The last thing we need to do, of course, is put down passenger buildings. because otherwise it's not connected to the road. So what we'll do is we'll put down, say, one of those, a couple of 3 little ones, and then another big one like that. And that looks pretty nice. And then we'll just smooth out the terrain so it just doesn't look so bad. Like that. That gives us the road connection. So then we just need to build a large road connection like that. That will do. And then I'm just going to put the bus depot down now, because I've got a feeling this town is going to build fairly quickly. We're going to need a way of trucking the food over as well. So we'll need both a bus depot and a truck depot. You should be familiar with this pattern by now. Now, because we've got cargo buildings on this side, we don't need them on that side as well. You can build them, but I don't believe you have to. As long as you've got them on the station, it's fine. So what I want to do is delete that. And we'll make these PAX platforms a little bit longer, just to give us a bit more breathing space. And then we'll have entrance, exit like that. We could even put a double entrance like that. Then go over here, configure them. Delete the entrance. Put another entrance there. Then we'll have cargo. Street access, exit, job done. Okay, and then we'll just basically build this road out a little bit, like that, and then we'll put our one-way connections in. All straightforward stuff. Drop in a waypoint, because you know you're going to have to waypoint that later. So you might as well put it in now. Then we have our exit. Same with this thing, exit. And then we want to have a big road like that. Entrance, second entrance, waypoint. Once you've built these a few times, they will, you know, you'll get second nature and quicker doing them. Probably looks like I'm rushing a little bit, but I'm conscious of video length. I don't want to make the video too long for you guys, but equally, I want to show this stuff. So we'll connect that as a road, which it can build on. We'll then upgrade that entire road so it can build on that. And that creates a nice loop, doesn't it? So that's future-proofing right there. Now, when it comes to the initial drop, we'll just go for Aylsham. We won't connect in this just yet. We just need to get the food work going. But the other thing I wanted to show you what I did over here, because you can see the road was obviously quite near the coast here, so it's quite flat. So I elevated the terrain up. When you put a station down, let's build a station a second. When you put a station down, or anything for that matter, you've got M and N to rotate. And then the angle bracket keys, which are just next to M and N usually, they will elevate or depress. So what I did was I built it like that, and then used the terrain tool to just build around it and then smooth it out. And what that's done is give us a nice elevation here, so that when we go out with the train line, it's already up and got a good elevation from the water, so that we're not blocking anything. Canada CO44, not ready for planes yet. Planes can be great, but they can lose you a lot of money as well. If you get them wrong, so we'll do that later. Anyway, so now we've got to get our train line over here. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to go with let's think, inside or outside track for this one. Might have Lee coming down here later. It's hard to guess which one we need, but we'll just go with the inside track. So what you want to do is you want to start building across like this. And what's going to happen is by default, it's going to put this bridge type down. Depends on what year you're in. If you're 1959, you may have other options of bridges. And as I've said before, they all have kind of different speed limits. So that's 180 for an iron bridge. If you want a suspension bridge, it's 180. If you stick with the box girder bridges, it's 320. Personally, I quite like the blue box girder bridge when you're going over water, because it kind of hides itself. But you may like the rustic or the green look. It's up to you. It's your map. But that gives you a 320 limit. Now, the only downside is when you look at this, there's actually a break. You see the green here and the green here? There's a break there. So ships can't actually go through here. So even though I elevated it, they still can't get across. There's two ways of fixing this. One is to use the M and N key to effectively arch the bridge like that. Another one is to basically bring this further over here like this. Let's make sure we're going in the right direction. Where do we want to go? We want to go to that track there, don't we? So we actually want to curve just a little bit in that direction. Kind of aiming for there. Yeah. So let's say you go like that. And then you can see there's a break in the water, but on the end there's this arrow button. So if you click the arrow button, it says fixed slope, and you can see it's got a flat arrow there. So if we bring this further in, you can see where it meets the ground. Now, we can elevate this if you want to. Hold the shift key, you can elevate it a little bit. So we have two options. We either use the M and N key to create an arc in the middle, yeah, or we have hold the shift key and click the end, and this will raise the end up, but not the middle. So the middle, you can see there's a break in the water there, but as the elevation kicks in, the bridge gets higher, so ships can go through this side. There's no right way of doing this. You're either going in an arc up and down, or you're going up. Yeah? There's only good and bad. Now, given that we've got to elevate up to this hill here, I'm just going to go with the second option. And what I'll do is I'll drag this out like that, and I'll see how much navigable water we've got. So about half of this. We don't know if we're going to need ships coming through here or not, but if we want them to, they're going to have to come through this sector here as it stands, or we create an arch. But I think we're better just climbing, because we're going to climb up to this hill anyway. But that's an expensive bridge. That's like 15 million, yeah? And then we're going to effectively tunnel our way over there. So we'll build that, and then from here, we're going to carry on, and I'm going to try and connect it with that when the game's had to think about it, because right now it's trying to intersect the road. Come on, game. Okay. Come on, game. There we go. Okay, now I don't know where I am. There I am. And then we'll try and just connect that in there. There we go. So now it's 1.7 million, but that should be flat all the way through. It's tunneled into here. We're going to click on this icon, and we'll just change the tunnel entrance to something, cosmetically nice, whichever style you fancy. Depends on the era that you're in as to what you've unlocked. 1.8 million. Build. And that is basically the train line. Now, obviously, we can build another one, and it won't cost as much as the initial one. 7 million. And we can then take that through there. Okay, it's not letting us build so far, so we'll just go to there for now. I did notice another... Yeah, you see it goes like in and out. So now we've got two different tunnel entrance types, because it built it as two separate tunnels, and I had to click on both icons, and I didn't spot the second one. We'll leave it. It doesn't matter. It's purely cosmetic. The main thing is we need to come into here. So we're coming into these cargo platforms. So we're going to build like that. Which one is that one? Is that going to go in the first one or the second one? Okay, that needs to come to the second track, wherever it is. Where are you? Okay, I didn't think it was this far back. Where's he gone? Okay, let's can that. I didn't realize it was so far back. Sorry about that. Let's build this out first. That's better. And then we'll build the outside track into effectively platform 2. And then we'll build that one like that. Okay. Now you can see what I've done. You can see there's a curve on there. We could straighten that out if you want to. I'll define the lines, and then I'll show you when we deploy the ships and stuff. We'll pick the ships together and the trains together, and we'll get this thing going. Right, done a little bit of polish, put some signals on the track here, and put a depot there, as you can see. So we've got the train line defined as well. This is Ludgershall alcohol. It's called Ludgershall because that's called Ludgershall. So Ludgershall alcohol comes into here. Obviously going to drop that there. It's going to have nothing on the way back. I've defined a truck drop-off here, which is going to drop the food off just there, which is the food area that we need to be on. If we go for truck unload, you can see that's the food drop. So I've also defined the ship, which is this thing. The ship is Mitcheldean Grain. So the only thing left now is to kick this thing off. So we're going to go buy a vehicle. We're going to go into cargo. Now, because we've built large platforms, we can do any of the large stuff. But if you didn't, then you wouldn't be able to buy and deploy any of these ships, and they wouldn't be able to go to the places you want them to go to. If you can afford it, I recommend always buying large platforms. At some point, you're going to have to scale up anyway, so it kind of makes sense. So the only thing to be wary of, if we click on cargo, we get a load of stuff. If we click on large, we only get large ships. Just pay attention to the cargo. Like, some of them are dedicated tanker things. And also be aware of the compartments. What are compartments, I hear you say? Compartments allow you to split cargo. Yeah, so if you take a ship like any of these here that have 2 compartments, that could carry crude and oil, or oil and fuel, or fuel and crude, etc. When you get down to a ship that can do all of these things, it has 4 compartments, so it can take 4 different kinds of products. The Axel P is a fantastic ship, so's the Viola actually, but you know, the running costs are something to be aware of. But then the speed on a ship is hilarious. Hilariously low, that is. 26 kilometers an hour versus 30. And you might not think that matters, but it does on a ship. It's such a long way to go that just a 4 kilometer hour difference can actually make quite a big difference in terms of journey time. They're obviously high capacity, the ship, so it's just a matter of, well, what do you want to go with? What we need to carry is only grain. This particular kind of ship will carry grain, 220 capacity, 378,000 does 30 Ks. It's either that or that. No, hang on. Sorry, my bad. We've only got those 2, or that one or that one. All of these carry liquid only. So it's a toss-up between this one, the Klondike, which carries 110 and does 30k, or the Axel P, which is basically the bigger version of the Klondike. It's double the capacity, goes at the same speed. Given what we're doing, I would probably take a couple of Klondikes. These are obviously old ones and the paddle things. One of the options you can set early on is whether to phase out older vehicles as time goes on, because the build of this is 1898. So feasibly, this is just not being made in 1959. So pretty much you would go for that. That would disappear unless you have a certain optional. We'll go for the Axel P, 378,000. We can stomach that. Let's just chuck one out initially, and we'll stick that onto Mitcheldean Grain, which is this kind of yellowish color. So we'll stick that on the grain. Now, you will need to speed up time at this point, because these things, they work at a glacial pace. I mean, they look really good and everything, but under normal circumstances, that's the speed it goes. It will take a long time to get there. The question is this producing any stuff for us? And the answer is yes. It recognizes Ludgesol alcohol, and it's shipping 200. You can see the numbers are big already. 200 is a huge amount. But by the time this thing gets there, that'll probably be pretty much on 200, and then we'll chuck another ship out. Next thing we have to do is this. It has no consumer right now, so we need to stick a train that goes all of that way with alcohol. What train do we go for? Well, we kind of want to keep the cost down. Bear in mind, when it's hauling alcohol out of Ludgesol, it's going to be climbing a hill, and then it's going flat. So it needs to have pretty good tractive effort. But we don't need to go ham on this initially. We can probably go... We want the speed, so we want to have something like the Nohab. We could go cheaper for less tractive effort. But I think, given the costs, I think we'll just go with a Nohab, and we'll stick on a few... which cars? We need a box car for alcohol, I think. Just check. Yeah, there it is, alcohol. So we'll stick on a few box cars. We'll just keep it small initially, just to keep the running cost down, because don't forget, each box car has an annual cost of 156,000. So we're already knocking on the door of 1.3 million in running costs a year. So we'll just stick a few on for now and let the line get established. Stick it on alcohol as a blue one. So we'll go just all alcohol. And that should complete the line. I've already put the trucks on at the end here. They're just sat there waiting. So then this should now see it as a consumer, but it won't show anything yet. So what I'll do now is I'll speed up time just so that we can actually see this thing run through. And because we're out of time in this video anyway, so I'll just speed up time and then we'll see it in action. Finally, it got here. It's like late 1960 and this thing just got here, but it had a fair chunk of grain ready for it when it got there. So it's now arrived, which means that thing should now kick into life and it should list, yeah, there you go. It should list the food processing plant. This train has been going up and down here for so long. Look at the finances. This thing's cost a fortune. We didn't need to put it in quite so early, but oh my God. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is just, I've added one ship. I'm just going to add another one in. So we get 3 coming out of here because you can see the grain starting to pick up already. And that's just left with almost a full load. So these things really kick off quite quickly. Very soon we'll have to start bringing down the grain from here. And then this train will also need to scale up as well because it will be able to pick up some alcohol shortly. So this whole network is about to sort of spring into life. And but yeah, we're going to have to look at the next episode to see how this thing goes. We're making money. We've got to go back and now start fine-tuning things and have a look at our stone and combat line and fine-tune that. Always work to be done, but things are going in the right direction. Please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video. Leave your comments about the series. Don't forget to tell your friends about it. Subscribe if you're not already subbed. And I shall see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Happy transporting.